Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Faculty of Information and Media Studies student panel, which is part of Virtual Fall Preview Day here at Western University for 2020. If you've already been attending some sessions this morning for Western, I hope they've been enjoyable and informative. If this is your first session of the day, then welcome. We're very glad you're choosing to spend some time with us. And make sure you stay tuned for other great sessions that we have going on after this student panel. My name is Lindsay, and I'm part of the team of undergraduate student services here in FIMS, or the Faculty of Information and Media Studies. I work as an academic counselor, which means that I help students with program planning and navigating any decisions or opportunities that they come across during their time at Western. So let's dive right in with our 5 student panelists. I'm going to get each of you to just introduce yourself briefly to everybody so that they know who we have today. Maybe Cass, we can start with you, just your name and your program and where you're from.
Yeah, great. So hey guys, my name is Cassandra. I'm in 4th year Honors Spec Media Information and Technoculture, and I'm from Oakville.
And Griffin?
Hey everybody, my name is Griffin. I am also a 4th year Honors Spec Media Information and Technoculture student, and I am from Richmond Hill, Ontario.
Serena?
Hi everyone, my name is Serena, obviously, and I'm in my 2nd year of Media Information Technoculture, and I'm doing a digital communications certificate, and I'm from Toronto.
Taya?
Hi everyone, my name is Taya. I'm also a 2nd year student in Honors Spec Media Information and Technoculture, and I'm from Vancouver.
And Alexia?
Hi everyone, my name is Alexia. I'm a 4th year Honors Spec student in Media and the Public Interest, and I'm from Oakville, Ontario.
Thanks, guys. So let's dive right in. One important question that we get a lot about the student experience is, how did you choose FIMS at Western? So Taya, I'm going to ask you to answer this one first.
Yeah, for sure. So for me, when I was applying to university after high school, I was really torn between programs and schools because I had a lot of interests in different areas. I really liked communications and social media and that sort of side of technology, but I also really loved business. So kind of trying to juggle those two was a little bit difficult when looking at programs. But I decided to choose FIMS because I really loved how it was able to give me kind of an education where I could look at different perspectives in media, and I would have a lot of options in terms of courses and just kind of how I wanted to study in my university experience. So for me, part of the reason that made FIMS kind of the perfect faculty for me was that I could do a lot of theoretical classes that focus more on the theory, the history of communication, different perspectives and aspects like political sides of it and business sides of media. But I could also do a lot of hands-on and more practical classes. So things like web design, video production, and graphic design. So, I really loved being able to combine those two perspectives at Western.
Yeah, and that's something that I think a lot of our students find is a really good fit for them, is the combination of both sides, as you said. Alexia, can you answer this one as well? How did you choose FIMS at Western?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think a big driving force of why I chose FIMS was just because it felt really unique as a program. When I was looking around at other schools and other programs, it really stood out. And I also like that it was a really small faculty, because a big thing going into university that I was focused on was finding a sense of community. And because, Western has a beautiful campus, there's lots of opportunities to be in community with other people, and with FIMS specifically, it was a smaller group of students. So I was able to make those connections and feel a real sense of belonging. And besides that, I really just felt like it was a program where it wouldn't box me in, but where I would have a lot of freedom to explore different interests, because going into first year, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. So it really gives you the opportunity to, explore your different interests, learn, and grow in that way.
Thanks. So, I think that's a pretty common experience, at least that I've heard from students. We have that wide array of people. Some people know exactly what they want to do for a career after they're done undergrad, but a lot of other people are using university as a chance to explore. So if anyone's attended some of our other sessions or seen things about FIMS before, you likely already know that our students do get the opportunity to explore lots of aspects of media, and they do go into many different fields within the media industry once they graduate. There's almost innumerable avenues. One of the things as an academic counselor that I really like about talking with students about their career paths is how individual everyone's journey is. And Cass, I know that you have a really interesting story to share about how you sort of developed your career aspirations over your time in FIMS. Would you share with everybody a little bit about that?
Of course. So I've kind of done a huge 360 in terms of my career aspirations while being in the program. And being in fourth year now, I'm sort of faced with the ultimate decision of what I want to do. But to preface this, I want to say FIMS, like Lindsay said, has so many different options in terms of career paths. And I've sort of dipped my toes into a lot of different subject areas. But in grade 12, when I was applying and picked FIMS, my career goals were solely marketing and or journalism. So that's sort of where I started off. I got into the program, and in first and second year, we do a lot of theoretical courses, which are great for understanding if you like the sort of thinking processes behind those disciplines. So after second year, I completely shifted. I was like, I want to go into law. Law school is for me, and that's what I wanted to do. I started, studying that and getting into that. I took some media law courses, and it was super interesting, super great. And then I switched up again this year. I'm taking a super great course called Uncovering Canadian Crime, and that sort of merged my interests of law and journalism. So it just goes to show that in the FIMS program, you can pursue any niche interest because there's so many courses that are going to suit your interests. So now I've sort of committed to following that path. And I think combined with the internship I'm doing at an organization in London called Nuts for Cheese, that's sort of teaching me about PR, and I want to pursue journalism as well. And with the courses in FIMS, I've been able to study both of those. And so I'm looking at continuing my path in the FIMS program by taking a master's next year potentially. And it's been super great, and you could do whatever you want in this program. The options are immense.
That's so great to hear. I mean, I love that you have allowed yourself to explore multiple different avenues. I think that's a really rich experience that a lot of students have, at least from telling me that that's what they've liked about the program, is being able to explore. And we're also finding too, in terms of media jobs out in the world after undergrad, it's not necessarily these siloed things of like journalism and PR and communications, right? There's a lot of blending. And so the fact that you're able to actually blend those interests through your courses and then an internship as well, and see how those things layer on top of one another, I think is really great. So we've kind of gone from how do you choose to attend Western in the first place, and then what are you going to do afterwards? But there's a lot of time and space in between those two things, choosing your university program and graduating. So you're going to spend lots of time here as a student if you choose to come to FIMS at Western. And Western has a reputation of having a really fantastic student experience. But what does that really mean, right? What does it mean to have a great student experience? And Serena, I wondered if you could speak to this a little bit.
Yeah, of course. Personally, because I was just a first year last year, I had a lot of expectations going into university because when I'd gone on residence. And so that was the first time I'd ever been away from the city. It was like going into London thinking, okay, what am I going to do now? How do I get comfortable? I was at Medway Sydenham, and honestly, what I think I loved about Western the most was they put so much emphasis outside of just in your buildings or in your program. They made like all these little programs like LAMP. Before I even came to Western, LAMP is like a mentor-mentee program. So you got to join in like saying, hi, could I have a mentor from like third, fourth year for FIMS? And they would basically guide you throughout the year with like coursework, with just answering questions. And it was like a built-in buddy. Another thing that I really liked was you had so many options for clubs. Like I'm a foodie, so I joined like Western Foodies, I joined like Western Food Patrol, you join all these random things. And personally, what it made me feel comfortable with was learning how to do time management and punctuality. And I'm like a really busy, productive person. Like if I don't have something, I won't get anything done. So that's one niche that they have. And so this year recently, they started a program called the Academic Peer Leader Program. And what they do essentially is they help first years, like they help you coach through like student experiences, friendships, so that even with the COVID pandemic, you still get the best out of your experience at Western. And that just goes to show you how much they care about the student experience.
That's great. And I think it's something that I do see quite often within FIMS and at Western more broadly, is that there are a lot of students who, if you take advantage of those resources in your first year, the supports, the programming that's there, it often does seem to build that sense of community. And so many students in FIMS I've heard say, you know, I really want to give back and make sure that someone else has that experience too. And I know there's a few of you on this call today who have been orientation leaders and who are part of the academic success peer leader program this year, which is embedded right in the tutorials of our first year program. So there is that sense of community, and I think that's a lot of what the student experience is in FIMS and at Western more broadly. But let's talk about what's actually in the program a little bit. So we're going to do this a little bit rapid fire style, but just what is one thing that you've loved learning in FIMS? Alexia, I'm going to ask you first.
So one thing right now that I'm currently learning in this semester is the link between politics and social media and internet addiction. And it's just been really fascinating and incredibly relevant in our like political, cultural climate.
Absolutely. Taya?
So one of my favorite things that I've learned so far was in first year, and that was when we use and interact with media, like, do we become cyborgs? Like, are we a cyborg? So that really made us think about the different perspectives on how we use media and how our daily use goes.
Yeah, it's a very deep connection there, very integrated, every aspect of our lives. Serena, how about you?
My favorite part was learning about data harvesting, because especially with TikTok, there's all this conversation like, oh, do you own data? Who really owns your data? And then you go into this class and you're like, actually, every single place that you've ever used, like Facebook, Instagram, literally everything takes your data. How do they use it? And it's nice having like that in-depth conversation with someone who knows what they're talking about, rather than like a random forum post that you don't know.
There are millions of random forum posts, but you guys are getting like the expert opinion on some of the key topics that are going on those Reddit forums. Griffin, how about you?
Just to sort of piggyback off of data harvesting, I've really enjoyed learning about sort of the concept of algorithmic identities, or essentially the information that these social platforms collect about their users and sort of create a blueprint about each user, and then ultimately sell our data to other companies, making the user the product rather than the service itself. It's a really interesting concept.
And a really different way to think about it than maybe you thought about it before starting this program. That's great. So those all sound like super fascinating topics and questions. I want to get a little bit more specific and ask about a favorite course. So Alexia, can you tell us about a favorite course that you've had?
Yeah, so my favorite course that I've taken at Western as a whole, I'd say, not even just in FIMS, was a third year course I took last semester called Race, Class, and Social Power. And the focus of that course is on structural racism. And yeah, we learned about the link between race and class. It was just super transformative, mind-blowing in a lot of ways, and it really gives you an opportunity to have a lot of great discussions as a class. So a few sub-themes that we focused on, to give examples, were like Islamophobia, settler colonialism, the politics of poverty and mass incarceration, and a lot more. I can't recommend it enough as a course.
That's awesome. And were you focusing on like how those issues are played out in the media, on social media platforms, in journalism, like all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so it was in, I guess, a lot of different avenues, like definitely a focus on media, because it's part of FIMS, and we used a lot of, I guess, media sources, like from theorists or even like documentaries and stuff to like illustrate these concepts. But also we just focused on how they kind of operate in the real world in like a very practical sense of like our daily lives, which was really cool.
Yeah, it sounds like a really good integration of sort of the big picture systemic understanding of, society and politics and that kind of stuff, but also understanding how does that play out in the media, and then how does that actually impact people's lived experiences, right? Because those different levels all have to be connected for it to have meaning. So it's great that you got that all in one course. And I think a lot of our courses do that. Griffin, how about you?
This is such a tough question, Lindsay. Um, I really enjoyed a lot of the courses that I've taken throughout the years. I'm big into journalism, so one of my favorite courses that I've taken, I think, is titled Multimedia Journalism. One really great thing about the FIMS program is that a lot of the more professional based courses are taught by professors whom have experience in those industries themselves. So they are able, excuse me, they're able to bring that real world experience into the classroom and really make it feel genuine and professional. So in multimedia journalism, my professor was a current journalist, and they treated our classroom like a newsroom. So we would do profile writing, and we would have to go out into the field and interview different subjects and really get that journalistic writing experience and act as if we're actually working in the field. I really enjoyed taking media law in my second year. It was something I hadn't really explored yet, and a very interesting topic range. And then on the flip side of things, I really enjoyed, I believe this is a Digicom course, I really enjoyed taking digital marketing. Uh, Again, because of the practical experiences that we were able to be provided with, I was able to create a sort of brand marketing plan for brands that I'm interacting with on a daily basis. So yeah, to answer your question, it's sort of all over the board.
That's okay. That's okay. It's okay that you have more than one favorite. I'm sure most people do, who are in this program. It does sound like you've had so many great classes, but other than the courses themselves, maybe I'll just stick with you for a sec, Griffin. What do you love about being a FIMS student outside your classes?
Wow. Well, I pride myself in being a FIMS student and love being a FIMS student mainly because of the community that FIMS creates for us. I love being involved in such a supportive community of students and faculty that throughout the years have really helped me learn my personal preferences and who I am along the way. We're all really supportive of one another, and being such a small faculty, it's easy to stay connected with one another, which is super nice. We are given the opportunity to participate in so many different workshops and courses and presentation from industry professionals that really help us hone in on our career objectives. And I really love just being able to blend my interests of creativity and writing and business and society all under one academic umbrella. Uh, and I think I can speak for a majority, if not all, FIMS students. The sort of shared aspiration and passion that we all have for our interests is really motivating and exciting to be studying amongst. I could go on and on.
Taya, same question to you.
Yeah, so I definitely agree with Griffin. The smaller faculty kind of environment really helps with that inclusive and welcoming atmosphere. I found in my year and a half here in FIMS at Western so far that it definitely feels like a family. You really get to know your peers and classes. A lot of the first year classes are a lot smaller than other faculties, so you really get that tight knit community, and you even get to know a lot of the profs, which is super helpful later down the road as well. And then also, I just love that there are so many different things you can do with the FIMS degree. Like you said earlier, at the end of the day, there's a very big mix of people in this faculty. Some people know exactly what they want to do, and some people have absolutely no idea. So at the end of your 4 years or however many years you spend in FIMS, you know you have so many different career options and paths that you can go down. And we're all going to be really unique in that way, which makes for a really motivating and dynamic learning environment. So yeah, that's what I really love about being a FIMS student.
Thank you. Those were wonderful answers, everybody. We have time for a few more questions that we've been getting from students thinking about coming to FIMS and Western. And one that we get often is about exchange and study abroad opportunities to incorporate an international component. Cassandra, you did an exchange to Leeds in the UK last year. Would you be able to tell us a bit about what that added to your Western and FIMS experience?
Of course. So I think a big part of the FIMS program is getting a global perspective on different reporting strategies or different ways of thinking about political economy all the things that we study in our own home program. So I knew I wanted to do an exchange from grade 12, or even before that, actually, in high school. And so when I got around to second year, I did the application process and reached out to academic counseling a lot for that, for help on what, if I even wanted to go, like where I wanted to go. And so I decided on Leeds, which is a decently large city in the UK. And I went there in January, and I took some really interesting courses. I took war and media, I took documentary and reality, and I took performing arts in the UK, sort of like a historical context. And I just feel like those courses from a British perspective really helps me get a more global perspective on what I'm learning here and how that applies to different countries. And that there's more than North America, that their media landscape over in Europe is very different than ours. And it's super interesting. I came back to Western with a different perspective. And even though my exchange was cut off because of COVID, I still feel like I wouldn't give it up for the world. And if you're interested in doing it, you definitely should. You should go for it.
That's awesome. I think if something was still worth it, even with whatever COVID times threw at it, I think that's a really good sign. Now, you also mentioned a little bit earlier that you did an internship with the FIMS internship program. And we do get a lot of questions about internships in FIMS. And if you're in the audience today, you might also be attending and participating in our session on careers, internships, and your future. Griffin has also completed an internship with FIMS. And so I don't know if you want to share a couple highlights from your experience since we've got you here.
Yeah, 100%. So to anyone interested in the internship program, I highly, highly recommend it. There are a lot of different options for internship positions that are available to media students sort of all across the board, whether you want to go work in marketing, in journalism, in production. There's so many different options to apply for and choose from. I personally worked for a tech firm in Toronto in the marketing department, which was something that when I was applying wasn't necessarily my top choice, but now coming out of the program itself, I'm actually so grateful for the experience and everything that I learned sort of throughout the process. My company specifically was developing a new product to be released at the end of the summer. So I was sort of able to jump onto the marketing team and really see what it's like to bring a new product to market and all the different processes that go along with that. And they were super accommodating in that they knew I was a very creative individual. So I got to jump onto a lot of content writing, and I got to publish on the company blog and participate in creating promotional videos, all from the comfort of my own home because of this remote landscape that we're living in. And this was something that I was a little bit discouraged about initially, but it ended up being a really great learning experience and something that I've taken so many different professional skills from my peers and coworkers, and it was a really humbling experience. And I highly recommend it to anyone looking to get some industry experience in any job umbrella.
That's awesome. Yeah, the remote experience has changed a lot of things, but there are definitely upsides and great skills to be learned. One more question, if we can pop one more in quickly before we wrap up. Another question we get a lot is about our second undergraduate program. We have MIT as our main larger program, but we also have a smaller program, which is media and the public interest. And Alexia, you're a part of that program. Can you just give us a sense of what you love about being in that program?
Yeah, so what I love most about being a part of MPI is that I really get to hone in and focus on my interests, which are specifically about activism and social justice. And so an example of like some courses you would probably take in MPI could be to do with media and social movements, activism, and then a lot of courses surrounding diversity and equality. That race course that I mentioned previously would kind of be under that umbrella as well. And I think the reason I chose it in second year was because in fourth year, you also get to do a practicum placement where you work with an organization in London that focuses on social justice in some sense. And you get to work with them and get some real life experience, I guess, doing that. So that was the big reason why I picked that. But yeah, I love it just because I get to focus on my interests of social justice, and the profs are also really amazing.
That sounds like such a great fit for you. And I know that a lot of our students who are in MPI feel like it's exactly what they want to be doing. That is all the time we have for today, so we're going to wrap up. I would like to thank each of our panelists today for sharing their stories, and I'd like to thank each of you in the audience for spending your time with us this morning and joining us. Coming up next is on this FIMS stage for Virtual Fall Preview Day is our Careers, Internships, and Your Future session. So stick around for 12:30 to hear from our Career Services Officer. And after that, if you haven't seen the earlier version of it, we'll also have our Associate Dean giving an overview of FIMS. We will have mini lectures from some of our dynamic professors in FIMS happening all throughout the afternoon, so you can get a sense of what kinds of topics and questions you might learn more about as a FIMS student. Should you have any questions, of course, pop them into the chat feature that's here today. And if you have questions that you think of after today, you can reach us at fims@uwo.ca, and I'll ask my team members on the feed there to pop that into the chat as well. Thank you so much. We really appreciate you spending time with us today, and we hope you have a great rest of Fall Preview Day.